When I was first in the market for a fifth wheel, I didn't know whether I needed a 2500 or a 3500. And whenever I asked salespeople, whether it be at the dealership or at the RV store, no one could give me a definitive reason and facts to it. So in this video, we're going to answer and unpack that question right now. Special shout out to Jerry Seiner Chevrolet here in Salt Lake City, Utah. They did allow me to do this video. So let's ask that question again. At what point should you go from a 2500 to a 3500? Well, let's start out back. As you guys most know, every HD truck, whether it be 2500 or 3500, comes available with the fifth wheel prep package, with the exception of a Ram with the Ram boxes. That's the only exception that I can think of right now. But every HD truck is available with a fifth wheel prep package. Now, here's some knowledge for you. Not every truck should have this package, okay? And the reason why is because of the curb weight of this truck. Now, the only exception to this rule is GM pickups, because in 2020 they decided to raise the gross vehicle weight rating above 10,000 pounds. Now, Ford does something similar. They have a 10,400 pound for the F-250, and they also have a 10.8, which gives you 400 or 800 pounds more payload capacity. Now, this is very confusing, right? So what do we have to do to figure this out? Let's go to the door sticker really quickly. I dare say that this is the biggest mistake people make buying pickups, and that's not understanding the gross vehicle weight rating. Gross vehicle weight rating is the maximum amount of weight that this truck can carry. It cannot exceed 11,350 pounds. You cannot go over that. Now, the second part of this is, well, how much does this truck weigh? So now you know you cannot exceed 11,350 pounds. So how much does this truck weigh? Well, this truck weighs, you see this right here? Curb weight. This truck weighs 8,034 pounds. So you only have 3,316 pounds of payload. That's actually a ton of payload for a diesel equipped truck. Now, let's do some math really quickly. Let's just say GM wasn't so gracious to raise the GVWR for the 3/4 tons. Let's just pretend that number was 10,000 pounds. By the way, if you were to order your truck, you can still get a 10,000 pound GVWR for tax purposes. So let's just pretend that number was 10,000 pounds. So we're going to take 10,000 pounds and we're going to subtract the curb weight, which was 8,034 pounds, right? This truck would have a 1,966 pound payload. Now, once you see that number, you are in travel trailer territory. You're not going to be able to get a fifth wheel. Never say never. You probably could find a really small 7,000 pound GVWR fifth wheel that would work. But here's the other caveat. If you only had a 1,900 pound payload, you have to figure, how much are your passengers? Are you a family of 4, 5, or 6? Do you have older or younger kids? Are you a family that, in American standards, is healthy eating? I mean, we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it. And what kind of gear do you plan on bringing with you? Do you have a big dog that needs to go into the truck? Do you plan on using a big fifth wheel? Because when it's all said and done, you could turn 1,900 pounds into like 1,200 pounds really fast, depending on how you load up your truck. Because remember, you cannot exceed 11,350 pounds, or in this case, in this example, 10,000 pounds. Now, I just said a lot just now, so let's kind of unpack that a little bit more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys a Excel spreadsheet that I found from another big YouTuber out there named KYD, Keep Your Daydream. You probably heard of him. Let's see the numbers in a spreadsheet really quickly. You now have a better understanding of what the gross vehicle weight rating is. It's the maximum allowable weight your truck can carry. You also understand what your curb weight is. So any options and features that your pickup has coming out of the factory, this is what it's going to weigh. And then when you subtract this from your curb weight, you get your payload. And apart from that, you have to figure out how much your family weighs and how much your cargo weighs. So in my scenario I have here, let's just say a family of 4 weighs 426 pounds plus cargo. So fifth wheel hitch, anything else that you put inside the pickup, either in the bed or in the cab. And so that's going to be a total of 726 pounds. So that's going to come off of this number, which leaves you with 2,590 pounds. Alrighty, so now you guys know when you take away some of your family and a fifth wheel hitch, you only have 2,590 pounds of payload with this truck. Alright, so here's a math equation that you're going to have to use. If you're looking at a fifth wheel, you have to take the gross vehicle weight rating of that trailer. So if you go to a RV dealer and you're looking for a fifth wheel, they'll always show the gross vehicle weight rating for that trailer, just like you saw on this truck. That number is going to probably be 14,000, 16,500, 18,000, 20,000, 21,000. There's so many different GVWRs out there. So what I normally do is, let's just show it to you really quickly. If you take, let's just say 14,000 pounds and you multiply that by 20%, that's 2,800 pounds. So if you know that your family and your gear is going to subtract your payload for this truck below 2,800 pounds, then you know you cannot tow a 14,000 pound GVWR. Now in some cases that number can go up to 23%. It can go down to 19%. It just depends on the floor plan. There's a lot of different variables. So with that being said, if you're looking to tow a fifth wheel, I would say over 12,000 pounds, I would venture to say you need to step up to a 3,500. And I'm going to show that to you guys here in a second. But remember, this truck has a 3,316 pound payload. The reason why we know that is because the GVWR is 11,350 pounds and that this truck weighs 8,034 pounds. That's how we know the payload of this truck. So you cannot exceed 11,350, right? And you just figured, man, if I'm going to tow a 14,000 pound GVWR trailer, specifically a fifth wheel, I need to probably get more payload. And in any case, I would almost recommend to anybody, especially if you're looking at a Ford or a Ram, to step up to a 1-ton or a 3,500. And here's why. This truck has a 12,100 pound GVWR. So you just saw the 3/4 ton was 11,350. So now you have an even higher capacity because this truck does weigh a little bit more. It weighs in at 8,211 pounds, but a lot of it has to do with some of the options and features. Like this truck has leather seats. This truck does have a smaller wheel, but it does have more options on, like that multi-flex tailgate, heated seats. Like a lot of these things are going to take away from the capacity. But even still, this truck has 3,889 pounds of capacity for your payload. So you just increase that by going to a 3,500, which means if you went to a 14,000 pound GWR fifth wheel, you have that option now because of this truck. But it gets even better. If you do get a 1-ton single rear wheel Chevy GMC, they do provide these 2 overload leaf springs. If you get the 3/4 ton Chevy 2500, you only get these 5 leaves in the main pack. So you have a more robust suspension. Typically the tires are a little bit better when you go to a 1-ton as well, but in this case, the tires are going to be the same. Another thing that you have to understand is on Chevys, they do give you a 12-inch ring gear on the 3500. This truck has an 11.5-inch ring gear. You also have to consider your rear axle rating. So right here, your rear gross axle weight rating is 6,600 pounds. On the 3500, it's 7,250 pounds. So you get a more robust axle rating out back. You get a better rear suspension. You get a little bit more meatier rear axle. And sometimes the brakes can get better. Sometimes the frame can get better. Sometimes if you get a Ram, you can get more power and you get a more robust transmission. And with Ford, it's the same thing with Chevy. You can get a better rear suspension, although they do provide a high capacity trailering package for the F-250s. But again, between your axle ratings, your rear suspension, your towing numbers go up, your payload goes up, and yeah, the list goes on and on. So this is the better option in my opinion if you are looking at a fifth wheel. But like I said earlier, GM pickups is the only exception to my rule for 3/4 tons, because you can tow a 10,000 pound GWR trailer pretty easy, even if you do have a bigger family with this truck. In a lot of cases, you only can pick a gas truck in these scenarios if you're looking at a Ram or Ford, because the payloads are just too low. And we haven't even begun to talk about 1-ton dualies. This truck has probably like 5,200 pounds of payload. The rear axle is probably like 10,000 pound gross ax weight rating. Has more robust brakes, more robust suspension, even compared to the 1-ton single rear wheel. You have 3 leaves versus 2. And of course you have the dual tires out back. So at the end of the day, there's a truck for every application. And if you really gotta go crazy, they do have cab and chassis trucks too, so you can get even more insane on a truck like that. But I hope this video was helpful. And I don't get this question as much as I did in the past. Like when I first started my channel, people would always ask that question: when should I go to a 1-ton? When should I go to a dually? And I hope this does answer that question for you guys. Again, special shout out to Jerry Seiner Chevrolet here in Salt Lake City. They did allow me to do this video. If you are in the market, they have a ton of selection here, and I guarantee you guys they're easy to work with. Keith is one of the sales managers here. Be sure to ask for him if you do need some help. See you guys in the next video.